And we welcome you to Gymnastics Hall for the women's compulsory round. Let's start with three basic facts. One, the Soviet Union, since they first entered Olympic competition in 1952, their women have never lost the team competition when they've competed. Of course, they weren't there in 84. The U.S., until 84, had won only one women's gymnastics medal. That was way back in the 40s, a bronze, until 84, when they collected 8. 3, Mary Lou Retton joined the list of Cinderellas. This sport really has created Cinderellas, names that we'll remember forever, and she joins us for the competition, and we welcome you.
Thank you, Dick. Now, I know you have two favorites that are really long shots in this competition, the Soviet Union's Natalia Leshchenova and our own USA's Brandy Johnson. And I totally agree with you, but this compulsory competition is going to be the most important for them. They must establish themselves here and make their presence known for them to have any type of chance in the optional rounds.
Yeah, they're going against the stars, and they're only 15 and relative unknowns. Now, let's talk about the compulsories. I did a little research, and I happen to know that you weren't exactly in love with this compulsory round.
Dick, to be totally honest, I hated compulsories, and they were the most difficult for me. So once I got past the compulsory rounds in 84, I was fine.
That was necessary, though, for you to really flirt with that gold, the all-around gold.
Oh, absolutely. It was the most important competition for me, as it is for a lot of gymnasts here in this competition.
Well, Bart Connor won a couple of golds, the team competition, as well as on the parallel bars. And I think we were both stunned by what happened yesterday. You talk about the judges, and they have the sharp pencils when they start in the morning. Boy, they're really tough. And then as the day goes along, they get a lot freer with the scores. And the night session was unbelievable.
And it really isn't necessarily fair. And I think if we draw a comparison with the U.S. men's team, the U.S. men's team got a horrible draw in the first round. I think because of that, they tightened up and they weren't able to relax and they had problems. In contrast, the U.S. women got the best draw they could possibly get. They're the last session of the day, and I think because of that, they know that if the scores escalate like they did in the men's competition, they can relax. All they have to do is hit their routines to have a good competition.
All right, 4 events. We're going to see the East Germans and Bulgarians in this first session. East Germany finished 3rd in the world in 1987, Bulgaria 5. Give us one face to watch closely.
One of my favorites is Dirta Tümler, and she's from East Germany, and she was the uneven bar world champion in 87, and she was the top non-Soviet or non-Romanian to place in the all-around in those competitions. And so she'll be one of the favorites, and she'll have to lead the East German team's effort here.
And here is the 5-foot Tümler, only 88 pounds. Outside of Romania and the Soviet Union, she was #1 at the 87 Worlds in the all-around.
This is the first time we've seen this compulsory exercise, and the mount is a pike open, and she does that beautifully.
This is the first rotation of 4. The East Germans on the floor.
She really has a very elegant style of dance. Her presentation is terrific.
Only 16 with that Marlene Dietrich look, that short hair.
Here's the second important tumbling run. Front step out, handspring, dive roll. Beautiful. There are really 3 critical tumbling runs. The judges are looking for height, good clean form in the air on the 3 tumbling runs. And of course, this is a tricky move right here. Back walk over to a full split and a full turn. Beautiful. Presentation is terrific. Here's the last run. A very nice layout step out. She floated out of the sky. Great job.
And a very attractive 16-year-old from East Germany, Dirta Tümler. And there are her scores. And solid they are. Drop the low and the high. Average the middle for a 9-9 as she is the 6th and final competitor in this rotation for East Germany. Mary Lou, your impressions of that floor exercise?
I was very impressed with her. For as little as she is and as young as she is, she can really dance very well.
She was 5th in the floor exercise in the World Championships in Rotterdam. 9-9 for Tümler. Now let's go to the Bulgarians. They were 5th in the world in 1987 as a team, and their cleanup hitter is Dudieva. She's on the high bar, or on even bars.
The critical moves are right here, this giant up and a straddle back to a handstand on the low bar. She hit all the positions just right. The exercise actually is a little choppy. I think she could be smoother, but she sure is hitting all the positions. And a beautiful layout flyaway dismount.
Stoyanova, who preceded her and another top Bulgarian gymnast, scored only a 9.475. That may have hurt the performance of Dudieva, and she gets a 9.75. So after the first rotation, the Bulgarians fall behind quickly. The East Germans, who had a very solid round, the East Germans on the floor, lowest score 9.55. They come out, they drop the low score 49. And Bulgaria almost a full point behind after one rotation, and Japan had a horrible first rotation on the vault. So we're underway, the women's compulsories at Gymnastics Hall.
Back in Seoul, we're still wondering about the controversy involving U.S. middleweight Anthony Hembrick. He, of course, was disqualified after failing to show on time for his bout against Korea's Han Jong-ho. A couple of matters to get to. Wally Matthews, you saw him trying to talk to Hembrick. 2 points. Number one, he was credentialed to be in that room. And number two, the reason he entered was because we were hopeful that perhaps Anthony Hembrick would have a few words to say. We thought that perhaps he would like to have his say on the issue. You also heard Wally Matthews talking to the Canadian coach, who said that at 8:53 the 9 o'clock bus was jammed and that therefore Hembrick perhaps could not have gotten on that bus. Nonetheless, Hembrick was in the 10 o'clock rotation and wasn't disqualified until 10:55, leaving him about an hour and 55 minutes. That brings up some obvious questions. We've found a map here. Take a look at this. This right here is the Olympic Village. Now that's where Hembrick tried to catch the bus. This is the Seoul Sports Complex. That's where he was supposed to be for the 10 o'clock rotation, where he had to be by 10:55 to avoid disqualification. The distance between these 2 points is only 4 miles. He certainly could have caught a cab. He even could have walked. Let's go over to gymnastics once again, Dick Enberg.
All right, Bryant, a tragic story that does indeed remind you of the problem with our sprinters in Munich in 1972 and how heartbroken that young man must be. We're in the second rotation of the first session, first of 4 sessions, women's gymnastics, the team competition compulsories. And the top team in this session, the East German, third in and Bulgarian team, they were fifth in the world. Both for East Germans, the beam for the Bulgarians in this round. Stars of these two teams, and we could soon both take them on the ball.
The East Germans have always been very strong in the vault because they're so athletic. They really are very powerful young ladies. There's a couple of very critical elements in this compulsory exercise. Certainly the gymnasts have to show tremendous control. It's important that the judges see that the gymnasts are working high up on their feet. That full turn is critical, that you finish in the attitude position. In the attitude position. Of course, she's working very smoothly, taking her time. Back walk over to a back handspring. That's one of the other critical elements. She must show a strong arabesque position.
Bulgarians with a little daring look, that open back.
And for so many years, I remember the Bulgarians wearing white leotards. This year they showed up with black. Perhaps they are really telling the gymnastics community that they mean business this time.
Give it that Raider look. Los Angeles Raider look, the all black.
Now she's going to set up for the dismount. It's called an Arabian from a cartwheel. One small hop on the landing.
Boryana Stoyanova, or Stoyanova, depending on how you want to place the accent, a 9.70 for Stoyanova as she finishes the rotation for the Bulgarians. They're very big into bussing their teammates. So the Bulgarians will remain after 2 rotations, 2 of 4 in second place. Let's go to this attractive, almost an Annie look-alike, Dagmar Kirsten. She's 6th for the East Germans, a very attractive team on the vault here in the second rotation.
And she says that vault is her favorite event. She was in all 4 event finals in last year's World Championships. It's going to be a Tuck Sukahara. That was pretty... She tried to fight the landing. Of course, she could not hold it. But that was a lot better than the vault we saw a little bit earlier from Dirta Timler.
Now, Timler got a 9.7, so let's see how they see Kirsten's vault. We'll take a second look.
Let's take a look at this. It's a half on, and then you must really explode off, tuck in, and then explode out of that tuck to the layout position before you land. And, of course, she was doing her best to fight that landing. You have to stick those landings if you want the big scores in this event.
Kirsten gets a 9.8, so after 2 rotations, East Germany with a 1 2/10 plus lead over Bulgaria. The Japanese well behind the first session. If we compare it to yesterday, much tougher scoring. It should get easier as the day goes on. And a reminder, the United States women will be up last in the 4th session. We'll be back. Now let's go to diving.
We're here at the diving venue, the Chamshel Indoor Swimming Pool. The preliminaries, the men's 3-meter springboard. We are now into the 5th round, with 4 of the 5 rounds complete, the 5 compulsory dives. And then after a 3 or 4 hour break later on, the 6 optional dives. Here is Greg Louganis of the United States. He is, we're in the 4th round. He is scheduled to win the gold, but that can be deceptive. Everybody expects him to win the gold, Steve McFarland.
And this dive is going to, this contest, I should say, is going to be the hardest one that he has to face in his Olympic quest. He has a big challenge from the Chinese team here. Tan Lianda, of course, as we've said, has beaten Greg twice this year, and Li Diliang is diving very well right now, so it's going to be a close contest.
And from Japan, this is Isao Yamakishi. And he's been hitting 7s and 8s throughout his compulsory dives.
And this part of the contest is known as the compulsory rounds because it shows the very fundamental skills that the divers use. There you saw an inward 1 1/2 somersault pike. These are very easy dives to do and try to accentuate the diver's grace, the diver's style, how high the diver goes off the board, and of course, that rip entry is ever so important at this part of the contest.
And the standings after 3 rounds, let me correct myself, we are in round 4. It is Greg Louganis of the United States who is leading, and he is really diving well. Valery Goncharov of the Soviet Union is in 2nd. Li Diliang of China is in 3rd. Albin Kielot of West Germany is in 4th. Tan Lianda of China is in 5th. And Mark Bradshaw of the United States is now in 6th place. He was in 12th, and he is moving up. But in reality, you can't establish the flow of the standings until we have all 5 of the compulsory dives.
That's very true. The compulsory dives must add up to 9.5. We're looking at Ron O'Brien, who is the coach at the U.S. team, and of course Greg Louganis' coach. The person next to him is Bob Ritz, who coaches at Iowa and is here coaching the Polish diver Tomasz Rasa.
And here is Greg Louganis.
Greg is doing the inward dive pike at 1.4. And that's why Greg Louganis is such a superb diver, such a presence in the sport of diving.
He brings an elegance of his own to every dive.
And this is elegant. I see nothing wrong with this dive. What a beautiful jump. All the elements that a judge looks for is in that dive. Height, grace, and perfect entry.
9s, 8.5s, 9.5. In the scoring, as you know, you throw out the high and the low. You take the total of the remaining judges' scores times the degree of difficulty, then times 60%, so you can match it up in case there's only 5 judges as they have at some meets. And now from the United States, Mark Bradshaw.
This is a forward dive, 1/2 twist.
He is in 6th place. And is an outside shot for a medal.
And this is his coach, Vince Panzano. You see his mother with the video camera and his sister sitting next to his mother, very anxious to see the scores. This is a fine dive Mark has done. He gets to the end of the board very well, sets the dive up, and notice the arm position. Holds that arm position out to the side and then lines up for that rip entry. This is a tricky dive to do because it adds a twist in a straight body position, and he does it very well.
And as most everyone knows that follows diving, his whole family is here with the exception of his wife, Lisa, who may have the baby anytime. We'll be back to more Olympics in a moment.
Coming up on 12 noon here in Seoul, as you can see, the rain has stopped, and that's good news over at the baseball stadium, where in a couple of hours, the United States and the Republic of Korea are set to square off in the baseball tournament. They are 2 of the favorites in that tournament, in great part because the Cubans are not here. We've mentioned many times the Seoul Games have set records for a number of participating nations and athletes, and also that 7 countries chose not to compete. Well, from an athletic standpoint, the delegation that will be missed the most will be Cuba, a country where sports is a national passion, where political considerations have the final word. Here's our Olympic Chronicle.
Do this dive, and this should really bring him up.
And it will.
And indeed it will.
Oh, yes, it will.
Greg Louganis combines such grace and style in diving, and there he blends it with a very acrobatic move. Watch how easy and smooth it looks. Effortless motion. Beautiful entry. You can't ask more from diving than that.
8.5, 8, 8.5, 7.5, and a 9, and a total of 69.72 for Greg Louganis. And remember, in the preliminary round, the diving order determined by lot, and reality what they're determining are the top 12. They will move into the finals and dive in reverse order. Here is Mark Bradshaw of the United States. We just talked to his wife, Lisa, in Columbus, Ohio.
Lisa, of course, is expecting a child, and she sends her love and a good comment on that last dive as well. This is an inward 1.5.
I think she'd like the last dive a little bit better than this one.
I think so, and Lisa, I would agree with that comment, too. Mark moved away from the board just a little too much, and the dive went beyond vertical. Watch here. You see, as he prepares to leave the board, he pushes back just slightly. Makes the dive move away and beyond, straight up and down.
The scores for Mark Bradshaw, basically 7.5, 1.8, 47.25. Did Lisa say when the baby is going to be born?
She didn't make any predictions.
All right, that's the story from diving.
Welcome back to Gymnastics Hall. As you can see, we've completed the first session, the first 4 rotations, and the East Germans have been very impressive. And along with Dirta Timmler, Dagmar Kersten has really won the show this morning. She has been most impressive. Let's go to the uneven bars. This is the 3rd rotation of 4, and Dirta Timmler, she's 5th up.
And she was the world champion, of course, in the 1987 World Gymnastics Championships on the uneven bars. She has really nice style and excellent technique.
We should point out that Schiefer-Decker, preceding Timmler, fell and had a 9.375.
Nice pirouette. This is a critical move here, the back straddle. Very nicely done. This is a beautiful exercise. Look at the tight leg form. Great landing.
Timler with, and look at a couple of 3 10s. East German judge at 10, Spanish and Czechoslovakian hit a 9.95. A test of upper body strength, the uneven bars. Here's Mary Lou Retton's insights into this apparatus.
In the compulsory bar routine, the key combination begins with the handstand half pirouette. The gymnast must show handstands before and after the pirouette. Next, although not a technical requirement, all the top gymnasts will show a giant swing before hopping back to a handstand on the low bar.
And of course, Bart, as we pointed out yesterday with men, really getting up into that handstand without over-rotating a key. And here's Dagmar Kirsten, who is going to score a 10 on this exercise. Here's the only 10 of the morning session, only the second of this competition in 2 days. And this handsome 19-year-old from East Germany pulls off the perfect exercise.
And let's see if we can see what Mary Lou was talking about on these two critical elements. Right here, it's going to be a kip to a cast, handstand, and a pirouette. She hit both handstands. Here's the second move, a giant up, and this move has to hit a handstand right there on the low bar. Beautiful handstand before the free hip and handstand after the free hip, and a very high flyaway dismount. That's the reason why that routine scored a perfect 10.
She knew she was good. Look at that face, Bart Connor. Does that remind you of somebody?
She seems, in a way, maybe sort of like the Katarina Witt of the summer games.
Yeah, the Winter Games. She won the 84 and 88 gold in figure skating, and here's this. Oh, you mean this girl?
Yeah.
Kirsten is the Summer Games, of course. She could skate, too, if she wants to.
Once again, look at the move here that Mary Lou was talking about. There's a kip cast. She hits the handstand, half turn, and she finishes a handstand. Now coming back, there's the giant right to the top. That was beautiful. Straddle back, and she needs to top off in a handstand there as well. And I love how she lifted her head to stylize the fact that she knew she was doing it right. And she was going to let the judges know that, hey, I am right on, because look at this, right to the top on the free hip, and a perfect dismount.
And that perfect final presentation impression, and the 10, only the second of the competition. Artyomov of the Soviet Union on the parallel bars yesterday. And there's a face that we're going to watch closely. We haven't talked much about, we didn't know much about. She was injured during the World Championships, and she has really fortified, given added strength to this East German team. And after 3 rotations, well in the lead, point in the third ahead of Bulgaria, and Japan has had a most disappointing morning in this first session. Now let's go to the 4th and final rotation and check on Kirsten again, who will finish with the top individual score of this session.
This is the very tricky balance beam compulsory exercise. Kirsten did a very nice job at moving smoothly through the critical elements, even though some of the elements aren't as acrobatic as you would see in an optional exercise. They're very tricky and, of course, very difficult to perform with a nice rhythm throughout.
Well, she's got that quality, enough dance, and certainly athletic and attractive. Dagmar Kirsten, and there's her scores. It averages out to 9.8. So the top individual in this first session is that young woman from East Germany, Dagmar Kirsten. She averaged for the 4 rotations 9.875. Artyomov, who was the top man yesterday, was a 9.9. So we'll keep our eyes on Kirsten. That's a face we may see a lot of during this next week. What were your impressions?
I was very impressed with Dagmar. You know, she, as you said, she was injured at World Championships last year, and I think she surprised a lot of people. People forgot about her, but they better not forget about her, because she's in contention for the all-around.
Here's a woman who knows. A lot of people were surprised about her. She kind of was hiding in the weeds before 84. Wasn't in a lot of international competitions. The East Germans in the first session were very impressive.
Yeah, and we've been talking all along, as we saw in the men's competition, how hard it is to score in the early rounds. But I think the East German women proved that if you're that good, you're going to get the scores anyway.
So after the compulsories, the first session, the first 4 events, the GDR, the East Germans, who finished 3rd in the world, but Kirsten was not on that team, and they now may be looking for something much bigger. Kirsten, the leading individual in the compulsories, her teammate Timler, Dudeva is in third place. So that's the story after the first session. The Romanians are coming up in the second session. That'll begin in about a half an hour. Right now from the gymnastics hall, let's go back to Brian Gumbel.
Okay, Dick, thanks very much. On a busy day here in Seoul, we've still got a lot more action ahead. Not only do we have more gymnastics coming from the building behind me, but we've also got Matt Biondi and Janet Evans to come in the swimming pool, and Greg Louganis' continued efforts in 3-meter springboard. All that and much more ahead as we continue our coverage of the games of the 24th Olympiad after a commercial break.
Scared. In fact, she doesn't look like she's strutting her stuff right now. Although I was surprised she was looking a little intimidated in the preliminary, she went out and swam like a champion. So I'm hoping that this is not indicative of what we're going to see in the water. She's a very poised young woman in the pool. She knows what to do. In fact, she says she backed off in the preliminaries on her last 2 strokes. So we've got a lot more to see out of her.
And here is the reigning world champion in this event, Kathleen Nord, 22 years old from East Germany.
Deutschland Demokratische Republik there on her T-shirt. You know, the East Germans are a very intimidating force because they don't go out of their way to express their personality. They've got it, and you've got to scratch beneath the surface to find it. But on top, they're party line animals, if you know what I mean.
And they are swimming pools in that water. They go hard at every practice. Everybody stood around and couldn't believe how hard the East Germans were training just before the race. But they know how to do it. They have dominated women's swimming since they came on the scene in the 70s.
The race, 4 minutes and 40-some-odd seconds. It's an endurance event using different strokes, therefore different muscle groups. It's a very exhausting event.
The last time American women swam against the East German women was in 76 in Montreal, that in the Olympics. We have a false start. And in that year, in 1976, the East Germans won 10 of 12 gold medals. We won just 1. The Soviet women won 1.
To explain the start of the race, the official, in this case Russ White from Houston, has got to make sure they're all totally stationary. And then as he begins to squeeze the trigger, you saw the strobe at the foot of the official's platform there. He notices that somebody indeed was moving, so he pulls it a second time. We hear double beepers, and everyone gets out of the water and starts again. This is Russ White out of Texas. He is a fabulous starter because he takes time to learn about the swimmers in his events. And so he knows who anticipates the gun. He knows how they, sort of do their little moves. One move is putting one hand on the block, and the other one sort of having it creeping forward. So you've got some momentum, but it's concealed from the official. He watches the swimmers and knows what to expect.
So Proctor from Australia in lane 1, Unger from East Germany lane 2, Evans of the USA lane 3, Lung the fastest qualifier in lane 4, counting down from the top of your screen, and Kathleen Nord in lane 5. The field rounded out by Clatworthy, Dendabarova, and Lynn Lee.
Boy, that looked like somebody was rolling a bit up in lane 2.
But it's a good start. And Janet Evans swimming 3 down from the top, swimming just off the lead that is now held by the 16-year-old from East Germany, Daniela Unger, at the top of your screen in the white cap.
This is the event Tracy Calkins won by 10 seconds in Los Angeles. Because there's 4 different strokes, the lead could change according to the different swimmers' strengths. Donna DeVerona won this in Tokyo.
The butterfly is the first 100 meters, 2 lengths of that stroke. Then they go to the backstroke, to the breaststroke, and to the freestyle. It should be pointed out that Janet Evans, who's swimming 3rd down lane 3, is best at the final 2 strokes, the breast and the freestyle.
You can expect these Germans to be going out well in the butterfly. Fortunately for the United States, Janet Evans' best strokes are towards the end of the race, and her endurance plays double.
Kathleen Nord of East Germany swimming in lane 5, coming up nicely now, and Kathleen Nord is going to take it to the wall after the first 100 meters as they conclude the fly portion, and now they go to the backstroke.
Naomi Lung from Romania's got a good backstroke. They're slower than world record pace at this point, but Evans' endurance may help the end of the race.
Janet Evans is contending for the lead. He in the black cap there, and Janet talked to us before the race about her strategy in the 400 IM.
I don't really know her splits yet because I've never swum against her, so I'm going to look at her splits and probably just mostly try to move on the breaststroke and freestyle because that's what I went easy on today, and that's when I want to move and catch up with her.
And right now, Janet Evans of the USA has taken the lead as they're through 150 meters. They come to the second 50-meter length of the backstroke. Challenging Janet Evans is Naomi Long of Romania. That is Evans in front, though, the American record holder and the holder of 3 other world records in swimming.
Look at that concentration on her face, a little half turn to the left. She can see Lung from Romania. She knows where the competitor is. Romania's got a better backstroke, but it's not catching Evans. Evans is definitely on her way for gold.
Janet Evans with her 2 best strokes coming up. When they go to the wall this time, they'll come out in the breaststroke. 100 meters of that, then they go to the freestyle, her very best stroke. They're slower than world record splits, but now Janet Evans has taken about a 1.5 second lead over the East German who led earlier, Daniela Unger.
Now, they may be slower than record, but not by much. 1/10 of a second, and Evans' best part is still to come, the freestyle. She looks strong. She looks really good. Remember, being smaller, she just keeps it going, keeps that turnover moving.
Those are the 4 strokes. Janet Evans was 1 second faster in the backstroke leg than she was yesterday in qualifying. So right now, Janet Evans comes up to the first 50 meters of the breaststroke. She'll take it back in with a breaststroke, and then they go to the freestyle. Janet Evans of the USA is still in the lead. Naomi Long is swimming second. She is about 1 second behind, as you see. Janet Evans with a full body length lead over Naomi Long, is swimming in lane 4 from Romania.
You know, Janet's the first to say, if I get to the wall first at the breaststroke, ain't nobody going to catch her.
Now, John, we have a contender coming up near the bottom of the screen, Elena Dendibarova from the Soviet Union. He is coming up in the yellow cap. At the moment, it is Janet Evans with Dendibarova now challenging Naomi Long for second place. This is the final of the women's 400-meter individual medley. When they conclude this length of the pool, they go to 100 meters of freestyle, and that will be it for the medals. Now, Janet Evans comes to the wall and goes to her specialty in freestyle all the way home.
They're a little bit slower than world record pace, but if she can bring it home in 1 minute and 2 seconds, that American cheering squad's going to have something really to yell about.
Give you an idea how fast Janet is swimming today. She's 2 seconds faster in the breaststroke leg than she was in the qualifiers yesterday. Janet Evans now with about 75 meters to swim. Taking it to the final turn at a 17-year-old Janet Evans, 101 pounds, who's got to stoke herself with food all day to keep that body weight up to 101. Evans with a substantial lead, and now they come to the final 50 meters. The moment of truth for little Janet Evans. Could she do it? Could she take on the East Germans? She could indeed. But it's going to be a fight to the wall. Contending heavily now in lane 4 is Naomi Long, who is the fastest qualifier. Here comes Dendibarova, swimming very well from the Soviet Union in lane 7. Janet Evans fighting to hold on. She now has 15 meters to swim. She now has 20 meters to swim. And now they're coming to the wall, and Janet Evans getting close. She's going to win gold. Janet Evans of the USA wins gold in the 400-meter individual medley. The second place finisher was Naomi Long of Romania. The third place finisher, the 16-year-old from East Germany, Daniela Unger. Fourth place finisher was Dendibarova of the Soviet Union. It was a new American record, but more important than all, they were racing not against the clock, against each other, and Janet Evans holds up the form chart projected for her coming in at age 17 in her first Olympic final. Janet Evans wins gold, and she's a long way from done in this biggest meet of all.
Absolutely no question from the end of the breaststroke, this was Janet Evans' race. You see her full body length lead, you see her trademark windmill stroke, and now instead of looking back, you saw her glimpse forward to the finish line. This is the culmination of an awful lot of pressure, an awful lot of attention. Americans, first gold medal with a new American record.
So the USA with its first gold of the day, and shortly Matt Biondi will be swimming for one in the 200-meter freestyle. Janet Evans with a new American record, but more importantly, Janet Evans with gold. Long is second, Unger is third. Dendibarova, the Soviet Union, was fourth. Now for John Neighbor, this is Don Criqui at Olympic Swimming.
This NBC sports presentation of the games of the 24th Olympiad is brought to you by Hyundai, proud sponsor of the 1988 Summer Olympic Games. By FTD. The feeling never ends with flowers from your FTD florist. By Kodacolor Gold Film. Show your true colors on Kodacolor Gold Film, the official film of the 1988 Olympic Games. And by Wear Dated Carpet by Monsanto. with stain protection locked in before the carpet's a carpet.
Back in Seoul, we've just watched Janet Evans mine some gold in the 400-meter individual medley. The weakest of the three events that she'll contest here in Seoul are generally considered as such. Let's go on over to the Olympic indoor swimming pool and John Neighbor. John?
Thanks you, Brian. We got the first American gold medalist right here. Janet Evans, congratulations, a new American record.
It didn't really matter about the time today, just the medal, and I'm really ecstatic. I don't really know what to say. I'm just happy.
Well, certainly. I feel your pulse in your back. You're absolutely exhausted, you said. Was this race as hard as you thought?
No, it really wasn't. It really went by fast. My main goal was when they were on the breaststroke, I wanted to be even with them because I knew I could bring it home the freestyle harder. But I was ahead, so it really wasn't that hard.
At what point in the race did you feel confident you could win it?
Second lap of backstroke. I knew it because I figured that, their breaststroke, they might catch me a little, but I'd still be a little ahead, and I knew I could bring it home on a freestyle.
You say you're not intimidated by the communist athletes. Why not?
Because they're just ordinary people, and I train just as hard as them, and I don't see why I should be intimidated by them.
Well, you got 2 more events to get ready for. Congratulations and good luck.
Thanks.
Bryant?
Okay, John Neighbor, thanks very much. Janet Evans coming up gold in the 400-meter IM. Let's take a check of diving now. We go on over to the Chamshil Indoor Swimming Pool for the conclusion of the men's 3-meter springboard compulsories. Once again, Charlie Jones, Steve McFarland.
This is Charlie Jones and Steve McFarland at the diving venue where we have now completed the 5 compulsory dives in the men's 3-meter springboard competition. Here's a look at Greg Louganis.
And this is a back 1 1/2 somersault with 2 1/2 twists, a 2.8 degree of difficulty. And boy, does he nail this dive. The scores for this were 8 and 8.5.
Mark Bradshaw of the United States also with a very good showing.
And Mark does the inward 1 1/2 somersault pike at 2.1. The judges' scores for Mark's dives, 7.5 and even an 8.
He could challenge for a medal. Tan Lianda of China. He should challenge Greg Louganis for the gold.
And Tan does an inward 1 1/2 somersault pike, also a 2.1 degree of difficulty. The judges loved this dive. 8.5, 8s, and even a 9.
So the standings after the 5 rounds of compulsory dives, Greg Louganis with a 10-point lead over Tan Lianda of China, followed by Albin Kilat of West Germany, Li Diliang of China, Alexander Portnov of the Soviet Union, and Mark Bradshaw of the United States, just 12.5 points out of 3rd place. So take a look now at places 7 through 12 as the top 12 will move through to the finals. The optional session, of course, still to come, and the finals to be seen live Monday night.
We take it from Charlie Jones, and we go to the building behind me. It's the Olympic Gymnastics Hall. There's some news being made there. Let's go to Dick Enberg. Dick?
All right, Brian, congratulations. The gold for Janet Evans, and this 18-year-old from Romania is thinking gymnastic gold. 18-year-old Daniela Silovaj. She's just scored a 10 on the uneven bars. It's interesting, in 1976, Nadia Comaneci, the first 10 ever in Olympic competition on this event, the uneven bars. Silovaj.
And in fact, it was on the compulsory. As you can see here, we heard Mary Lou talk a little bit earlier about some of the technical requirements. And right here, handstand, pirouette, handstand. She did it beautifully. There's the giant up and the straddle back right to the handstand. So far, the exercise was absolutely perfect. And you can see she continued with that same momentum, topping off every handstand in perfect position on the landing.
Silovaj, she finished 3rd in the World Championships behind her teammate Dobre and Shushanova of the Soviet Union. Boy, she gets off to a flying start at 10 in the very first rotation. And the congratulations certainly are in order. Now the Romanians in the second rotation will move to the balance beam. But with that performance by Silovaj, the Romanians, after the first rotation, comparing them with the East Germans, who had a very fine first session, are in a tie for first place. Another look at Silovaj. Perfect.
She was so disappointed at last year's World Championships because she came there to win after coming off a win at the European Championships, and yet she had some major errors. She came into this event with gold in her mind because we saw her in the practice sessions, and every turn she took was exactly like this. Absolutely perfect. She made no mistakes in the practices. Here is the critical move, the back straddle, and look at that. Perfect handstand on the low bar. That's what the judges need to see if they're going to award points back for the amplitude that these gymnasts show. Look at the perfect form. Tight body position right to the handstand on the free hip. giant down through to a layout flyaway. Look at how tight that form is. Even Nadia, when she got her first perfect 10, she took a little bit of a hop on the landing. That was a better 10 than Nadia's, perhaps.
Oh, what a great shot there, and great slow motion to appreciate how perfect the technical merit of Silavac was. And wait till you see her when she gets to open up on the optional. So after the first rotation, comparing with the East Germans in the first session, a tie for first at 49. The fight is on for the women in gymnastics.
Out at the Olympic indoor swimming pool, the years of effort for Janet Evans have paid off. She's about to pick up a golden dividend. Let's go on out to Don Criqui and John Napier.
Thank you, Brian Gumbel. It is a very big moment indeed for the USA and for Janet Evans, and the work she put in is extraordinary. She probably trains more than any American swimmer. And as we pointed out, the difficult part is just holding her weight. She is trimmed right down to the bone, weighing only 101 pounds. But she came in unafraid, and she gets the ultimate, the gold medal in her first try at the Olympic Games. I think it's interesting, John. I was talking to Mary T. Maher, the veteran American Olympic swimmer and one of 11 children who's made the Olympic team for the third time. I asked her if she's counseling Janet Evans in any way. And she said, no. She said, the last thing I want her to be thinking about is this at the Olympics. She'll realize it when she goes home. She said, ignorance is bliss. She just wants her to think it's another big meet.
You know, Janet deserves the gold medal on that swim. It wasn't quite a world record, but the fact that it's the fastest any American has ever done is pretty substantial. I got a quick memory. This parade, from the holding room to the awards platform, this is where it begins to sink in. These athletes now are, you know, their breathing is back to normal, their heart's back to normal, and they can hear the crowds, they can see a friendly face. It's the most meaningful part of an athlete's journey for gold.
Well, you made that trip 4 times yourself, picking up Olympic gold in Montreal in '76. And Janet Evans is going to the stand for the first time.
I can't help waving myself.
The American swimming team, a lot of friends and parents in their section here at the Olympic Swimming Park Stadium, which is absolutely a phenomenal facility. The Koreans actually built one venue. Didn't think they liked it well enough, so they built another. This wasn't completed until last April.
You know, the first pool they built was fine. It just didn't have enough seats. They needed to put in 10,000 people, so instead of building new seats, they built a new stadium. It is a fast pool.
There is the pool at the other end is a diving pool. This is a 50-meter pool, 10 lanes, as John was pointing out. The swimmers do not swim in the outside lanes, which makes it all the faster. Janet Evans is the object of much attention from college recruiters right now. She'll be a senior, and she's an honors student in Placentia, California. And reportedly in the hunt to get Janet Evans to a scholarship, and she could mean an NCAA championship, Stanford, Texas, and Florida. I guess she just ruled out Florida. Maybe not.
In any case, it's a team title, whoever gets her.
The gold medalist and Olympic champion representing the United States of America with a time of 4 minutes, 37.76, Janet Evans. The silver medalist, representing Romania with a time of 4 minutes, 39.46, Noemi Long.
She challenged but could not overtake Janet Evans, Naomi Lung. These three will be seeing each other again at the World Championships and in all probability at Barcelona in '92.
We'll be seeing a lot more of these swimmers as the meet goes on. Janet's got 2 more events, Naomi Lung in the 200 individual medley. North got butterflies. I mean, these athletes are here to swim.
Representing the German Democratic Republic with a time of 4 minutes, 39.76.
Every word, every moment, indelibly etched in the back of your mind. You don't forget this as long as you live.
The East German coach, Wolfgang Rechter, told us he thinks this is going to be a superstar in women's swimming. The third-place finisher, Daniela Unger, 16 years old. And now it has to be for Janet Evans and the American team the most special moment of all. We're going to have the playing of our national anthem.
The national anthem of the United States of America.
Back in Seoul at 1:30 in the afternoon local time, you're looking at a picture coming to us from Chamshil Students Gymnasium, and those are U.S. boxing officials. They are awaiting a decision on their protest regarding the disqualification of middleweight Anthony Hembrick, who showed up late for his fight with Korea's Hung Kwang-jo. Instead, Hung Kwang-jo was awarded a walkover. Hembrick was disqualified. The U.S. team has protested. That protest was heard a half hour ago. You can see the boxing officials there waiting for the verdict. As soon as they get word of it, and we will, of course, pass it along to you. When you talk about the long and the short of U.S. swimming hopes, you're usually talking about Janet Evans on the short end. She's just 5'5". On the long end, you talk about Matt Biondi. He's 6'6". He's got a big race on tap this afternoon against West Germany's Michael Gross. Now, Michael Gross is a true superstar in the sport of swimming. He was the dominating male swimmer at the '84 Olympics, winning 2 golds and 2 silver medals. Well, now he's in Seoul, and he's fighting for top billing with Biondi. Let's spend a moment in time now with Michael Gross. 8 years ago, a gangly 16-year-old from Frankfurt mounted the blocks of the 1980 European Swimming Cup. Amused onlookers dubbed him the Albatross for his lanky limbs and clumsy appearance. Little did they know how far this bird would fly. Michael Gross is perhaps the most dominant swimmer of the 80s. He has garnered 4 world and 13 European titles. Although he won 2 gold medals at the LA Olympics, he may be best remembered for the defeat he suffered there. It came in the 4x200-meter freestyle relay, West Germans against the United States. The American strategy had been to race their fastest swimmers at the start, and by the time Gross hit the water, the Americans led by 3 meters. But the long strokes of the Albatross soon made up time but left him spent. The American, Bruce Hayes, swimming the leg of his life, barely inched out an exhausted Gross at the finish. Gross had swum the fastest 200-meter relay leg of all time, but lost.
Anyone can win. That's no problem at all. But to defeat disappointment and to learn from the experience and to pull the lessons out of it brings much more to life.
Defeats are few and far between for Gross. He just keeps getting faster. Only one person isn't fully convinced that the Albatross will continue to soar, and that is Michael himself.
I never thought about becoming a great swimmer. I had no ambitions along those lines until 1979, and then all of a sudden it somehow just exploded. I'm really amazed that I continue to improve, even though I've thought for the last couple of years that I've been swimming at the very limits of my potential.
He may be unassuming, but do not assume that Gross is shy. As one of the most popular personalities in all of West Germany, he is constantly in demand, but stays level-headed.
If I'm doing a commercial, then I must be completely convinced, and I don't just do it for money. I'm really quite an idealist, and I'm a man of my convictions, and that's the way I conduct myself.
He is outspoken in other ways, too. A student of political science in Frankfurt, he recently joined a group of noted West German scientists in a petition against the militarization of outer space, specifically Star Wars. Michael Gross is very sure of his values. He is also sure about what he wants, and that includes the good life. On vacation with the West German team on Lanzarote Island off the coast of Morocco, he relishes the time alone. Gross is as matter-of-fact about his future as he is about his phenomenal success in the pool.
Almost by accident, I've had some success in swimming. But swimming is not everything there is in life. Life can offer new things that even when you're 80 or 90 years old, you can always experience new things. You're never done learning.
Michael Gross just about ready to take on his first final here in Seoul. Standing in his way, a formidable obstacle, America's Matt Biondi, who's looking for 7 goals from these games. At least he has a chance to win 7 and equal Mark Spitz's record. Let's go out to the indoor swimming pool once again. Don Cricky, John Neighbor.
Thank you, Brian. They're talking about Biondi having a regimen here and racing at the Olympic Games like the 7 labors of Hercules. He's going for 7 gold medals. This was not supposed to be his best event, the 200-meter freestyle, but he qualified in very good form yesterday. Second-best qualifier behind Wodat of Poland. And the world record holder, John, is in the race. Michael Gross of West Germany qualified 3rd, but he's the guy to beat, I think.
No question about it. This is one of the most excited matchups that the Olympic swimming events have to offer. You know, in the history of the Olympic Games, no man has ever successfully defended a title in the 200-meter freestyle. Gross has the first shot. He still has the world record, although it's 4 years old. This is the man, the Albatross himself, Michael Gross. And the challenge, of course,
right in front of him.
You remember he had a beard in the preliminaries. He shaved it off. He's really concentrating on this. Both athletes had their own opinion as to how this event would turn out. We spoke with them earlier.
Here's Michael Gross on his strategy.
On the last lap, I think maybe who is leading on the 150-meter mark will be finished maybe 4th or 5th.
It's going to be a great final. It's going to be, whoever's on can take it. I think there are 4 or 5 people in the heat who have the capability to win the gold medal, and I hope I'm on tomorrow.
This was the final, the consolation, the preliminary heat yesterday. Biondi's leading there in the air. Above him is Wodat. They turn at the 150. Biondi's got a body length lead, but with 1 length of the pool remaining, Wodat there breathing, looking at his competition, looking at Biondi. They knew where they were. The distance man, who's currently the world record holder in the 400-meter freestyle, Wodat from Poland, just goes right by him. Biondi still with the full long stroke. He doesn't look like he's tying up. He's still very efficient, but he let the Polish swimmer go by. The Polish swimmer, top qualifier, Artur Wodat. He trains at Mission Viejo in California. He's going to be enrolling at the University of Iowa. He's going to be enjoying American competition for years to come. Here in a match-up race with Biondi, goes right by him.
Now let's meet the swimmers in lane 1 from the German Democratic Republic. Is Stefan Zessner, East German swimmer. Lane 2, a young American who's 20 years old today, Troy Dalby of San Jose, California, swimming in lane 2. Lane 3, the world record holder in this event, and he did it in winning gold at Los Angeles in '84, Michael Gross of West Germany. The Albatross, the man who sweeps through the water with that 7-foot 4-inch arm span. In lane 5, the fastest qualifier from Poland is Artur Wodat, 20 years old, swimming in lane 4. In lane 5, the American hope, going for 7 medals in this Olympic game, is Matt Biondi, almost 6'7", from Moraga, California. A graduate of the University of California at Berkeley, a member of an NCAA water polo championship team, All-American water polo player also. But Matt Biondi has trained perhaps as no American swimmer has ever trained getting ready for this, and he swam so well. This is not a specialty, but he's a threat to win gold here also. The 200 meters a little bit longer than he usually likes to go. Duncan Armstrong of Australia will be swimming in lane 6. The Aussies always ready. In lane 7, from West Germany, a former swimmer for the University of Southern California and a bronze medalist in this event behind Gross and Mike Heath, is Thomas Farner. Farner of West Germany. And the 1987 European champion in the 200-meter freestyle, there he is, swimming in lane 8 from Sweden, Anders Holmertz. It is 4 lengths of the 50-meter pool. There is Michael Gross's world and Olympic record, set back in 1984. The American record is held by Matt Biondi. Set that in the qualifying heat at Austin, Texas.
You know, they are bouncing around a little bit, trying to get their pulse rate up without stressing any of the muscles. So the swinging of the arms, jumping up and down, that's all part of a pre-race routine that everyone likes to do.
They've met before, Gross and Biondi, in fact, before they swam in a final at the World Championships in Madrid in '86. They're on lanes next to each other as they are today. And Gross turned to Biondi and said, "Matt, let's race."
Great commentary.
So there they are, the top people in the middle, Gross, Wodat, and Biondi.
That's world record holders in the 100, 200, and 400-meter freestyle, all meeting in middle ground. What a thrill. They're both, I predict, Gross and Biondi are going to go out for it. Wodat's going to be in the middle, and he's going to be pulled along by their weight. And he's got the endurance to make a charge towards the end. Remember, Gross said whoever leads at the 150 is not even going to get a medal. They expect a big back half of this race. And let's not forget Troy Dalby, the other American, up in lane 2. He beat Biondi in the finals of the Olympic trials.
There's Troy Dalby, 20 years old today, from San Jose, California. Swam very well in the trials in qualifying yesterday. Matt Biondi stands almost 6'7". And his arch rival, Michael Gross, is almost 6'8", but his arm span is unbelievable. Michael Gross, from fingertip to fingertip stretched out, his arm span is 7'4". We're ready to go now to finals of the men's 200-meter freestyle, and we have the oftentimes false start coming here as we get a man getting wet early. That's Michael Gross.
You know, I don't know why I didn't see that one coming. There's a lot of tension on the blocks. These athletes are a little bit jittery.
Gross, John, as we heard him say earlier, thinks the man who touches the wall for the final turn at 150 meters isn't going to win it. What do you think of that?
Well, it's certainly, that's why they have the race, to see what goes on. You see Gross jumping in the water. It wasn't as if he was trying to hold it down. He just leans out and goes. Not a major issue with him. There's 3 false starts available. On the third one, you're disqualified. Gross just wanted to get wet and loosen up.
Gross has bulked up somewhat. He's heavier than he was at the European Championships at Strasbourg in August of 1987. He didn't swim a whole lot here in Seoul since he's arrived. He is honed to such a fine, sharp edge and ready.
You know, he came up with his own nickname in a jesting session with a Western journalist. He called himself Albatross as a lark, and it caught and swept over the world.
Away, and second start is a good one. 4 lengths of the 50-meter pool, the men's 200-meter freestyle, the gold medal race. Matt Biondi is out nicely.
Going for it right off the bat. Bingo, half a body length lead at 25 meters.
Great dive for Biondi, but this is 4 lengths now. This is a bit longer than the sprints he's used to. Swimming well in lane 8. Near the bottom is Anders Holmertz. In the yellow cap, Biondi will go to the wall to the first turn with the lead. Holmertz with a good turn now, starting to challenge Matt Biondi.
0.8 of a second ahead of world record pace. He's going out for it as we saw. Look how deliberate his entry is, how cleanly he puts his hands in the water. You see them extending ahead of him after they penetrate the pool so he can get a full sweeping motion with his arm.
Matt Biondi still has the lead, although it looks like Holmertz at the bottom in lane 8 might go to the wall right with them. Just about dead even through the first 100 meters. So they are out through the first half of the race, and they are still faster than the world record.
0.8 of a second ahead of Pratt. Record pace. You see Biondi looking left. He's looking at Holmertz. There's nobody between them. He sees that's where the competition is. And look at the draft he's providing for Duncan Armstrong. Armstrong sailing on the weight.
And here comes Michael Gross of West Germany. Michael Gross trying to catch Biondi. That is Biondi in the middle pool. You see Gross right in the middle now as they go to the final turn. 50 meters to swim. Biondi with the lead by the narrowest of margins. Still under the world record split. Biondi of the USA swimming first. Duncan Armstrong, the Australian, swimming very well in lane 6. Matt Biondi and Duncan Armstrong. And now it looks like Armstrong of Australia is going to take it in. Holmertz coming hard, so is Biondi. An upset winner from Australia. Duncan Armstrong, a 20-year-old from Brisbane, comes from behind in the final 50 meters, and he wins Olympic gold. Matt Biondi was third. The second-place finisher, the Swede Anders Holmertz. Michael Gross, the world record holder, did no better than fifth.
That world record fell. Australia with a new world record, and he did it on a free ride on Matt Biondi. Biondi was afraid of the guy Vodat, and so he moved away from him. Not going to give the Polish swimmer the draft. Let's take a look at this. At 125 meters, Biondi's got a full body length lead. He's all alone, full body length lead. Armstrong sensing, gee, I can sort of go along for the ride. It's like drafters and biking and cycling. You get close, you can just pick it up. And Armstrong just moves on in. This is a textbook example of how to draft. Biondi all alone right now. Absolutely no competition going into the wall, except down here. Holmertz turns even in first. Now watch this. Armstrong next to him, sucking next to the lane line. Biondi is coming in this side. He's staying away from Wodat. And what happens? Armstrong just body surfs this wave all the way to the wall. You don't swim on the lane like that by accident. He knows exactly what's going on. Look, Biondi's moving in. Biondi moved down, moving down closer to the other lane line. It's an easy draft all the way. And reaching for the wall. Gold medal, Australia. I can't even believe it.
So Duncan Armstrong, the 1986 Commonwealth Games champion in this event. His best international finish in world competition was in '86 at the World Championships, where he finished 6th. But when it's all on the line, Duncan Armstrong, an amazing Aussie, comes from off. And Wilby of Australia comes from off the pace to win Olympic gold. Biondi, swimming out, was 3rd. Now let's go back to Bryant Gumbel.
This medal update is brought to you by Prudential. Though there are no national team totals kept in the Olympic records, everyone, of course, will wind up as these days move along, adding up the totals won by the various countries. You can see right now the United States has captured 4 medals in all, the 1 gold coming on the strength of Janet Evans' performance in the 400 IM. The Soviets have also captured 4 medals, their 1 gold coming in shooting. East Germany, the German Democratic Republic, has come in with 3 medals so far, the 2 golds captured by Christian Otto and also the other one in cycling. And the People's Republic of China has 3 medals to date, the 1 gold coming in diving. The men's 200-meter freestyle is history. Let's go to John Neighbor. He's got the gold and bronze medalists. John?
Thank you, Bryant. Duncan, congratulations. You won the gold medal in your wildest dreams. Did you anticipate this happening?
Well, my coach, Laurie Lawrence, and I have been working very hard on my second 100 over 200, being a 400 swimmer as well. So if I could stick with Matt on the way out, I was hoping to run him down on the way back.
Tell us the truth. How much of a factor was the draft? You got a great drag off of Matt on the 150.
Oh, I just tried to use every advantage I could get, and Matt's got this huge wave, so I just jumped into the trough and body surfed in.
Well, congratulations on the gold medal. Matt, a bronze medal, that takes the monkey off your back. No more Mark Spitz comparisons. What are you going to concentrate on next?
Well, that's my second event. I got 9 more 100 flies coming up tomorrow, and I'm out of the 200s. I have a relay left, but other than that, it's going to be 100s and 50s. And you know, I feel really good about what happened. I think of all the things, I swam my race, and I swam within lane 5, and that's what I need to do here. And I think I swam good enough to win. Obviously, it wasn't good enough.
Well,
got to hand it to him.
it was still a good swim. Congratulations to both of you. Now I go back to Brian.
Okay, John Neighbor, thank you. What a surprise. We kept on talking about Matt Biondi. We kept on talking about Artur Wodot. We kept on talking about Michael Gross. Instead, the winner is Duncan Armstrong. We're going to come back in just a moment. More ahead from Seoul, right after a station break. About an hour ago, a protest over the decision to disqualify U.S. middleweight fighter Anthony Hembrick was heard over at the Chomshill Students Gymnasium. Let's go there now. Once again, our reporter, Wally Matthews. Wally?
I'm here with Paul Connor. He's the attorney for the U.S. Amateur Boxing Federation and also a member of AIBA's protest committee, which is right now debating the Hembrick situation. Paul, where does it stand?
Well, right now we're at a 2-2 tie. It's going to be broken by the chairman, which is Mr. Uchi from Africa, and we're awaiting that decision to come out of probably around 6 o'clock this evening.
Do you have any feeling on which way he'll rule?
No, I don't really. I'm not optimistic, but hopeful.
On what basis could he possibly turn this in the favor of Hembrick? It seems that it was just a mistake by the American coaching staff.
Well, it was a mistake, yes, and a mistake, no, because if you looked at the schedule, it's very confusing. They've now, of course, corrected the schedule, but that damage has already been done. They've got the A ring and B ring all interwoven within one schedule, and therefore he thought he was on 11 bouts when actually it was only 5 bouts. The regrettable thing was that he missed the bus. Not missed it, but actually the bus was filled. The 10 o'clock bus was filled. He caught the 10:30 bus. He was actually present in the box hall at the time when the boy was in the ring. The other boy was in the ring. But then under the international rules, it must count 3 minutes, and then the bout is over.
Paul, so 2 questions. If you miss the bus or if the bus is filled, why not jump into a cab, number 1?
Well, because we're out at the Olympic Village, there aren't any cabs. As you probably know, it's almost an armed camp to get in or out of there.
And number 2, why cut it so close?
Well, they shouldn't have cut it close. I'm not trying to condone or say that they weren't a little bit negligent, but it was just one of those things.
Anthony Hembrick's fate in the hands of a committee right now. Now back to Bryant.
Okay, Wally, thank you. And that's a good question. Why cut it so close? When your bout's at 10:30 or 11, why do you try to make a 10 o'clock bus? That question yet to be answered. Let's go on back over to the Olympic indoor swimming pool. Our reporter standing by there, Armin Katayan. Armin?
Brian, I obtained a copy of a memo that was written by Chuck Kale, who is the assistant chef de mission for the USOC. It was written to Walter Troger, who is the IOC sports director, on Saturday afternoon following the women's preliminary diving. In this memo, Kale complains about the very issue that resulted in the disqualification of the boxer. He says there were no buses to return competitors to the village, and he also says there were no buses to return them to the evening competition. He also says this is not acceptable, as I think you will agree, and he implored Sloop on behalf of Mr. Troger, or Mr. Troger on behalf of Sloop, to try to solve this situation. At this point, it doesn't look like it's been solved, and the boxer is obviously, his position is up in the air.
Thank you. I don't think anyone is doubting the truth of what the boxing officials are saying. It's just that a lot of folks around here are wondering why they cut it so close. We're going to come back in just a moment. There's still a little bit more ahead before we have to step aside from Seoul. Right after this. Been a long day on this Monday in Seoul, and a good one, we think. 4.5 hours worth of action. We've seen an awful lot of it. Our time has run out, though, but a half hour from now, we'll be back with more action. Coming up tonight, weather permitting, you're going to see the U.S. baseball team going against a co-favorite in that tournament, the team from the Republic of Korea. We'll also see more gymnastics and more, of course, on the boxing controversy. As we bring this day to a close, perhaps the best memory is of some of the winners we've seen today. Kristen Otto, Janet Evans, some others. There were an awful lot of winners in Seoul today. And though Anthony Hembrick, the disqualified fighter, may not appreciate it, we offer this final tribute to those winners. That's what dreams are made of. We'll say goodnight. See you tomorrow.
A boy in a playground just pretending. a